waiting, baby.
Oh, I feel like preaching in this place. That's what the fuck I'm talking about. God, that's what I'm talking about.
What's going on? What's going on? This is Clarence Jr. and I got an interesting conversation tonight. It's pretty random, but very interesting, I think, in my own personal opinion. So, what we're going to talk about is why is it that the red pill could not replace Kevin Samuels, right? And it's not due to a lack of trying. But there's a few key reasons why they haven't been able to recreate that magic. And let me be clear when I say replace Kevin Samuels, what I mean is have another person come along that can cross over into mainstream Black culture, that could become somewhat a household name within Black culture, that can bring a certain level of respectability and credibility to the red pill space. That's what I mean. Why haven't they been able to do that? Well, there's several key reasons. Reason number one is this: we are all visual creatures, right? And since we are visual, presentation matters. Whether it's camera quality, how you dress, your physical appearance, what physical shape you are in, all of those things matter for several reasons. Let's talk about the first reason. The fact that Kevin Samuels had a certain presentation with his content gave him a certain level of credibility. It made it easier to watch. There's a difference. There was a clear difference between his content and lots of other red pill content, especially during the rise, because at that time, the majority of the people in the space, I would argue, were not getting on camera consistently. So you couldn't really see them, how they looked, or how they were living. So you couldn't put a face to the speech. So you couldn't really connect with them. You couldn't really look at them and see, do I believe what they're saying? Like, that's important. But let's just be real. This is also another part of the appearance part. The fact that Kevin Samuels was tall, well-groomed, well-dressed, and according to lots of women, easy to look at, also greatly contributed to his rise in his popularity. For several reasons. First reason being, and we all know this, when you are viewed as appealing to look at, you get more leeway and you get more attention automatically. As men, we know this. There's been several occasions where women will say things that we either don't agree with, don't think are interesting. We don't think she's interesting. We may not even think she's a good person. But if she's attractive, she gets more attention based off the fact that she's attractive. It's really that simple. And so the fact, once again, that Kevin Samuels was tall, his online presentation was on point in terms of background, camera quality, so forth, lighting, all of that, how he dressed, how he was groomed, his height, being in shape, all of that matters. All of it. all of that contributed to the caliber of woman that would engage with him. Because if you go back and look at his content, if we're just going to be honest about it, there were tons and tons of very attractive women who were willing to get on the platform with him. Why does that matter? Being able to engage with attractive women gives you a certain level of credibility. It also sparks interest for people to watch. It's really that simple. The fact that this man was able to make this content and have attractive women tune in, it gives a certain level of credibility to the content and to the person. Not to mention, it's going to encourage lots of men to watch the content to look at the attractive women. Also, there's going to be other women that say, you know what? If this attractive woman will go on his platform and, for lack of a better term, validate him, and I view her as attractive, I can go on there as well. Right? Like, let's just be real. I got a few things to show. Like, when women like this get on there, that helps. Like, when women like this are getting on the platform, that helps. It helps get men to watch the content. It helps to get women to watch the content and tune in and call in and be a part of the content. All of that works together. I remember when he did his Tasha K appearance. And early on in his Tasha K interview, she noted multiple times that she thought he was physically attractive. Trust me, that helps. And tall. That helps. Right? So that's reason number one. Exactly. Attractive women attract more attractive women. It was simple. Point number two. The reason why, and all these points tie in together. The main and most important part I'm saving for last. But I'm going to get these out the way first. So point number two. Okay, point number two. The reason why they have not been able to replace Kevin Samuels is this. And once again, all these points are connected. Kevin Samuels was able to do something that has never been close to being done before or again in Red Pill Spaces, and that is reach a certain level of recognition, cosign, and acknowledgement from, how do I put this? Well, entertainers, professionals, and respected people within the community, right? Because it's one thing to be popular within Red Pill Spaces. It's one thing to have a bunch of subscribers or followers on YouTube or TikTok. There's a lot of people who have that. Trust me, there's quite a few Red Pill content creators who have 100,000 here, 200, 300,000, 80,000, so forth and so on. And they are well known within Red Pill Spaces and some online spaces. But that is totally different from crossing over into the mainstream. In order to cross over into the mainstream, you have to be acknowledged and or co-signed and or given credibility by people in other lanes who are well known and well respected within the community or the culture. And Kevin Samuels was able to accomplish that. sitting down with Cam Newton, sitting down with Joe Budden, sitting down with T.I., Nicki Minaj, what's the girl's name? Tommy, who like the female rapper from Atlanta, that Tommy, not who else? It was somebody else. It was quite a few. Being in Future's music video, having Lil Boosie getting in the interview and saying that he was having conversations about Kevin Samuels at parties and stuff like that. Brittany Renner, all that stuff helps. Why? Because we got to keep it real. How do I put this? Yes, when he rated Nicki Minaj, not only did he rate Nicki Minaj, but she asked him for the number. Like, the question becomes, how does that happen? But before we get to how he got that, let's go here. The reason why you need these types of looks and interactions in order to really cross over and be mainstream is because, let's just keep it real. There's a certain stigma and viewpoint and opinion that people have about gender war, red pill, manosphere, content creators in general. And people that are well known because they can sing or they can act or they're charismatic or they've done good in business or whoever or whatever the case may be, and they've reached certain heights in the culture overall, those people are going to be very hesitant to stand next to or co-sign somebody that's coming from the red pill space unless they present themselves a certain type of way, right? And so when you come from the red pill space and you're able to get these different looks and cosigns, that's what helps you to cross over. He said, I'm not a fan of the manosphere's Jesus, but he was a firm believer that he would have eventually, yes, he would have, man, listen, he'd have been, first of all, if he was still alive, he'd still be big. He wouldn't be talking about red pill stuff at all. At all. He was already kind of almost away from that completely anyway. And but he wouldn't be talking about that stuff at all at this point, right? And so the next part of that is this. The question becomes, how was he able to get these looks, these cosigns, this level of affirmation from people outside of the red pill space that were known for certain things, to stand next to him and to, give him a platform? He was able to do that because of how he did his content. That's how. And this is what a lot of red pill guys don't, manosphere, so forth. This is what a lot of them don't understand. Kevin Samuels was able to get those looks and get into those spaces because of how he delivered the content. We've already talked about being in shape, great camera angles, being on camera. The lighting was perfect. How he dressed. But it was also how he said it. It wasn't a whole lot of profanity. It wasn't a whole lot of be this and hold that. It wasn't a whole lot of, oh, I found a clip of these black women fighting at the mall. Let me post this and talk about that. It wasn't a whole lot of yelling and arguing and bickering back and forth. It wasn't a whole bunch of panels with 8, 10, 15 people on it. And so people were more prone to give him a platform, to share a platform with him, to say his name and validate him. Because even if you didn't like what he was saying, and a lot of people didn't, he wasn't over the top and profane and disrespectful with it. I know when he was at his height, it was a big old thing with him and Tommy was like, he's stealing my stuff. And when I said it, people, I was getting my channels blocked. And what Tommy never understood was this. Tommy's problem was basically Tommy. Meaning that he could have said what he was saying in a much more politically correct way. You could have had the same points and the same message, and it didn't have to be delivered in the way that it was delivered. A Tommy type of delivery is never going to be accepted. It's never going to go mainstream. It's always going to get deplatformed and flagged, and always, because it's too abrasive. Also, Tommy's lifestyle, it was never going to cross over. Also, his presentation, how he dressed and all that, and then all the Trump stuff, it was never going to happen. It's exactly profanity, huge panels, too casual of a presence, half the time not even on camera. But here's the main point that a lot of people haven't thought about. But the main reason why Kevin Samuels was able to cross over and get to where he got to, and why nobody's been able to do it before or do it since, it's a two-part to that. Number one, well, part A, Kevin Samuels had a clear message, a clear goal. That's important. When you're saying all that you're saying and causing all this drama, you have to have a clear message, a clear reason, a clear goal for why you're doing what you are doing. And if you listen to Kevin Samuels' content, it was very clear, whether you agree with it or not, that Kevin Samuels' goal was to promote and increase marriage within the Black community. Once again, whether you agree with it or don't agree with it, and a lot of people didn't agree with it for a lot of different reasons. Like some people thought you were setting up men to deal with the wrong women. Some people thought that marriage is not a fair deal for men anymore. And with alimony and child support, you're setting men up to be put through the ringer and so forth and so on, right? But the fact remains, he had a clear message, and the message was, let's get more marriages and let's keep more marriages, whether you agree with it or not, right? That's part A. If you want to cross over doing red pill, manosphere, gender war, relationship content, you need to have a clear point to what you are doing. And if you listen to 99% of manosphere, red pill, relationship, gender war content, there is no clear goal for what they are doing. Are you trying to promote marriage? Are you trying to promote being a forever bachelor? Are you trying to promote being, tricking? Are you trying to promote going overseas and getting a woman from a different country? Are you trying to promote, getting a white woman? Are you trying? What is your goal for your content? Most of these guys, they don't have a goal. They hop from thing to thing to thing to thing, right? It's 1 week is passport. The next week is intercultural. The next thing is MGTOW. The next thing is black pill. The next thing is tricking. Simple. He was able to cross over because he had a clear message and goal. Well, I'm not making an argument that we need one or don't need one. I'm just saying it was clear that after he passed, they were trying to find the next one. And I'm just explaining why they were not able to and why they probably won't be able to. Right? But here's the part B to that, and this is the most important point I'm going to make. And a lot of people are not going to like this point, but it is what it is. But hold on, let me got me some kombucha right here. All right. All right. Hope y'all buckled up for this. There's going to be a lot of people push back on this in the days to come, but you can't. Here it is. Part B. And the main reason that Kevin Samuels was able to cross over is because not only did he have a clear message, which was marriage, but, and most importantly, his message and his goal is secretly what most of these people want. That's what people don't get. That's what people refuse to admit. At the end of the day, most of these people want to find a spouse. If they don't want to be married, they want a long-term loving relationship. They want love and companionship at the very least. I know on the men's side and the women's side, there's all this talk about what's wrong with this one, what's wrong with the women, what's wrong with the men. You can't trust this one. What do you bring to the table? You ain't this. You ain't. I know that's all the talk that we hear. But at the end of the day, the fact is most people want somebody. And guess what? After you listen to all the red pill and the pink pill and the black pill and all this other kind of stuff, and what's wrong with these women and what's wrong with these men and hypergamy and what do you bring to the table and after you listen to all of that, the fact of the matter is most people want to have somebody. And guess what? Truth be told, in these relationship spaces, for the most part, Kevin Samuels was the only one actually talking about how to get somebody. He was the only one talking about let's get together. He was the only one who had a Facebook group and matching people together. That's the biggest reason why he became so big. Because truthfully, everybody wants somebody. So after we get through all this arguing and finger pointing and talking about what's wrong with this one and what's wrong with that one, after all of that, folk want somebody. And he was talking about how to get with somebody. Whether you agree with it or not, whether you think it was good advice or bad advice, whether you think he was putting the wrong people together, at the end of the day, he was talking about people getting together. And people want somebody. Exactly. That's really the point, though. He was the only one offering real solutions. Once again, whether you disagree with his solutions or not, or think they're wrong-headed, or think you're setting the men up for failure or not, he was the only one offering a solution at the end of the rhetoric. That's why he got so big. Because once again, whether you agree with his solution or not, at least somebody was offering one. So just think about it. You have this space. Let's go ahead and close this out and put it all together. At the end of the day, you have an in-shape man who's tall, who women find aesthetically pleasing, who's able to attract aesthetically pleasing women to come to his platform and have conversations with him consistently. And they are talking about how to get into and have and or save or fix a relationship. I'm going to say that again. When you really break it all the way down, what you actually had was a man whose presentation and show, from a visual standpoint, in terms of the actual show, was aesthetically pleasing. Then you had the man himself, who a lot of women felt was aesthetically pleasing. And because of that, he was able to attract aesthetically pleasing women to come onto the show. And then the show was as respectable as a gender war conversation can be. And here's another point. It was actually a conversation 99% of the time, where you can see two people actually having a conversation and not arguing and yelling and cursing and having a debate about it wasn't that for the most part. And then you throw on top of that, that is, he has a very clear message and clear goal. And that message and goal is what most people want, which is how to find somebody. That's why he was so big. And that's why they have not been able to replace him. Because there is nobody in these spaces that's doing that. There is nobody. Don't get me wrong, nowadays, because people always, they try and copy a formula, right? So there's a lot more guys who are on camera, who have good setups, who have good backgrounds, quality video, quality sound, in shape, on camera, have people come on the show and they're on camera. A lot more guys wearing suits now. All that kind of stuff. A lot more guys talking to women instead of just talking to a bunch of men behind avatars. That part has changed. But what hasn't changed is, what is the purpose of the content? That's the difference. That's why none of these guys can cross over. Because at the end of the day, the purpose of their content is strictly make money, get views, be seen. And I'm not saying Kevin Samuels wasn't doing those things as well. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is he had a clear message and goal for the content. That's why they haven't been able to replace him, and that's why they probably never will.
Thank you.